2.5 years ago, my mom and I were driving to Washington, D.C. from Florida, and we stopped at a gas station in Georgia. Got some gas, went inside to use the bathroom, and I saw this shirt. And I was a big Star Wars fan then, just like I am now. This is a face of Darth Vader, and within it contained many scenes from the movies of Star Wars. His nose is the Emperor. This scene here, I believe, is him fighting Luke in the second movie. This is the Death Star, right? So it's got a lot of nice scenes here, and I saw it and I had to have it, so I bought it. It was like $20, and over the course of time, it has just become frayed, a little bit faded, and there's cracks within the white paint that's on top of the shirt. So I don't know if the camera picks that up, but I can see it. So this shirt had its time. It had its significance to me, and I got to wear it and enjoy it as it was when it was in its fullest form. And now it's in a stage of decay. This applies to all forms, all things, all people's bodies, everything you see. None of it can last forever because all physical matter is subject to transformation. Because this shirt was, before it was transformed, trans means to change, right? And then formed means change form. Before it changed form into this form, it was whatever this is, cotton or whatever it may be. And before that, if it was cotton, it was in the ground, and then water and soil and fertilizer nourished. And if the fertilizer came from cow dung, then whatever the cow was eating, whatever pastures it came from, and whatever fed that, the whole thing is completely interconnected. And one way or the other, it ended up as this in a gas station in Georgia, and now it's ended up as this in this video right now. So what is the point of talking about impermanence? It may seem clear that everything fades and decays and changes or dies, whichever way you'd like to put it. But it is of vital importance for managing our consciousness, because when we focus on identification with things, when we identify ourselves with things which are subject to change, we're always in a state of insecurity that what we have is going to be taken, what we value immensely will be fade away, be destroyed, or be taken, and we're never truly happy because our minds are focused excessively on the things we're identified with. And we can't identify with things. We can to some extent, but when the time comes that they pass and you can't get it back, there comes a time you need to let go. So I had a car in college. It was a 1993 Nissan Quest, a turquoise green, aqua green minivan. It was really good. I was able to pack up my whole room and take it to my dorm, unpack, same thing at the beginning of end of each year. At Christmas, I got to give my friends rides because we could all take our bags and stuff in it, and it served its purpose. It started to peter out at the end in 2014. I was 21 years old, and in 2014 we sold it after I graduated for like, I don't know, $400 or something. Not much for a minivan, but it was so obsolete at that point. It served its purpose the whole time I needed it. Then when I didn't need it, we sold it. And the material from that van, maybe the engine, maybe some parts were taken to be transformed and put into another car, and the rest of it was junked or recycled or something, but it's been taken apart, and the parts that made it up when I had it are dispersed elsewhere now. And then I got a new car. I got a Honda Civic, and that's a lot better for me now because I don't need to move my room around, and it drives better, it's more fuel efficient, looks better, it's faster. So, and the time will come that that car is no longer viable. I'll have to get a new car at that point. But the point is that we are the witnessing awareness that sees these things, that engages with these things. And we have to engage fully and thoroughly with what we have now. We're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised the next moment. There is a place for long-term planning. There's a place for long-term thinking. But there must be an appreciation for what we have now. The food we can eat, the devices we can use, the bodies we have. We can appreciate these things while we have them. We cannot cling to them because there is not a single person on earth or animal or creature of any type that can preserve themselves beyond death. No matter how rich you are, no matter how good or bad your life has been, the time comes when it ends. So the body in that respect is like a car. It runs really well for a period and it slowly decays. You may need to get things replaced, knees, hips, heart, whatever it may be, and then at some point it's no longer viable and it experiences a death. We, though, are the awareness that lives through it. You're aware. You can see what's around you. You can feel. You know you're alive. You're perceiving all these objects. Loss of the things that we are identified with is often a great awakening into our deeper natures because the thing we are identified with has changed. So who are we? If I identify as a college student and I graduate college, I can just identify as a college grad. But let's say that there's something more personal to me that gets taken, whatever it may be, something I can't get back. My identity has taken a blow. And the thing that I had was impermanent. Like my father, for example. I was the son of a alive father at one point. And now I'm not. My identity has changed. I lost something that was in my life, some person. He was impermanent. He was impermanent. We're all impermanent. Everything is impermanent. So let's enjoy them while they last, and really enjoy them, not out of some clinging desire to preserve it and hold on to it forever, but to engage with it and have fun with it now, to live vivaciously with it now, to look at it and love it and see it, perceive it, enjoy it, and know that when it goes, something else will come. Or nothing might come. But it doesn't matter, because we have the awareness that in our awareness we can love anything, whether it's a trash heap or a beautiful forest, whether it's a really old minivan or a nice new car, whether it's a beautiful movie or sitting in a room. All that's happening is that the content of what's within the awareness is changing. And yes, on one level, there's a lot to be said about an extremely well-made movie. A lot to be said about it. It's a lot more sophisticated and it takes a lot of effort, money, time, so forth to make. It can elicit a lot of things within a viewer, much more so than a blank and empty room can, on one level. On the other level, you're simply witnessing something different. And that way we can find a beautiful flow and synchronicity in the many things within our lives and not get as wound up in the ups and downs that we would otherwise. Where we feel high in a really great way and then low in a really horrible way when the day is over, when the good times have passed. But we instead, with our awareness, which is constant, feel the awareness and then allow things to occur. The changing of clothes, the changing of cars, the changing of things and people and friends, the changing of positions, the changing of life situations, the changing of ideas. When we're more fluid, we can more accurately respond to the needs of the present moment and live in connection with it rather than within our minds, which seek to preserve that with which we identify, that with which is impermanent, that with which is guaranteed to no longer be there at some point. The Beatles were an amazing band, the rock stars of the 60s, but they were impermanent. And in 1969, they disbanded. And then in 1980, John Lennon died. 2001, George Harrison died. But their music will last forever. Right? Or not. In a million years, will the Beatles' music be there? Will it even exist? We can't know. They exist now, sure. They'll exist in 50 years, sure. Maybe the Earth won't be around in a million years for whatever reason, and everything we've built and created will be gone, and whoever's there has to start over. You can't predict so far into the future, but you can live in the now. George Harrison himself actually made an album called All Things Must Come to Pass. And I think that's a good way to wrap up this topic of impermanence.